Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the R6 Collegiate Championship. After 7 long weeks of gameplay and battles, we are finally here at the round of 16, the big playoffs where it all comes to fruition. I'm here with Mr. Fellow, and obviously we're excited to get into these games here. We have a classic East versus West battle between GCU and the University of North Carolina, Charlotte.
Yeah, and I've actually had the pleasure of casting these two teams in the past. UNCC, I got to see them all the way back in week number 1 of the Swiss format, and then GCU, I've cast them a couple of times in CR6 and gotten to talk with them personally because I know their coach very well, pardon. So this is a match that is held very near and dear to my heart because unfortunately one of these two teams has to go, but I like them both so much. So we'll take a look at the rosters, of course, starting out with Grand Canyon University, see who they've got on their main five. We've got Mend, Klims, Dios, who formerly went by Cheeks in case you know that player, Smurfs, who also goes by Meat Stick, and then also a 12 is how you pronounce that name. We actually went and asked him because his name was so interesting and hard to pronunciate. We wanted to make sure before going in the broadcast.
Took us like 20 minutes to get a solid answer as well, but we got it. It's a
Yeah.
12. I mean, of course, meat stick and cheeks on the same team as well as whatever. But yeah, and against them, obviously, we have UNC Charlotte, who have Kyle, Link, Rogue, TB, and Yeti. Now, interesting fact about these two teams, both come pretty close in terms of scoreline, but GCU is the undefeated team coming into the playoffs, 7-0 in the Western Conference, and as for UNC Charlotte, 5-2. So obviously, we have one team that appears to be just a little bit stronger. They weren't able to topple NCSU as well as York University, while the Western Conference champions GCU. I mean, they ran a mill. The only time that they lost any map was two maps, one to the University of Tulsa and one to San Jose State University. So quite the aggressive team we got here on the side of GCU. Obviously, a team that's looking a little bit more successful, but when it comes for playoffs, it's your A game. It doesn't matter what your previous results look like.
Yeah, and having that aggression that can maybe tailor as to where you'd like to go for the maps, perhaps in this best of series. So we'll take a look at the map and see where we're going tonight. It looks like we've got Club, Chalet, and then Oregon as well. So pretty interesting maps. For Chalet, that is actually the first map. The two names are inverted, but we are going to Chalet and then Clubhouse. Those two maps are still correct. Um, I've seen UNCC play here before against University at Buffalo. They did a very solid job of just having the good basics down. Their team play was nice. Their rotations were very smooth. So it makes sense that they, are comfortable with going here and just banning out the more default S kind of maps like Villa, for example. Clubhouse as well, very standard map, and so is Oregon. So this is honestly, a pretty normal map selection here for a BO3, even with the Chalet in the mix, given the context.
Yeah, and obviously Chalet has just been played so much as of recent. It's a very,
Yeah.
it's been I think widely accepted by the competitive community. Just for the fact that it doesn't play like a lot of other maps. It's very aggressive, attacker favored sometimes, and map control based. And I mean every map is map control based, but on Chalet, it really matters. You can waste 1 or 2 minutes just trying to clear a single room at times, and your team play really gets put to the test in that sort of scenario. So coming on to Clubhouse for first, and you talked about fundamentals and how the basics are going to be all that both teams need. UNC Charlotte, they won the basics last time. I think that Clubhouse is one of those maps where it's all about basics. It's all about playing to your strengths, playing to your knowledge, and just letting the defaults do the rest of the talking. You don't have to have some extreme strategy coming into this map. You just have to understand what you're doing and what roles you're playing.
Well, we've got all 10 players in the lobby, so we'll get into the first map very, very shortly. Get to see what bans are allocated here tonight. Probably expecting more default stuff. I mean, the map selection was relatively dull, so I can only imagine the bans being the same. Maybe, though, we might not see something like a Thatcher, perhaps. That could be potentially innovative if we have a team that likes to go for more bandit tricking. That could maybe spice up the life just a tad bit, but we're bound to see most likely that Thatcher, unfortunately, some type of hard breacher, whether it be the Maverick or the Habana, then following up potentially that Kaid. If not, then maybe the Valkyrie first and foremost, and then that Mira slash Ramai. All pretty solid picks here. And for the offense, maybe in a Flores as well, if we like to see more heart destruction in the pocket of either UNCC or GCU.
Yeah, and obviously, like Clubhouse is one of those maps where you just have to either ban Maverick or Habana. Otherwise, the map becomes really difficult for you. And you can see GC will just take out the Thatcher that we were talking about. Very default, very standard. But at the same time, what I want to see here on the side of UNC Charlotte, oh, a Jackal ban. Okay, well, fellow, we saw that a little bit last night, but this is really interesting. Jackal coming out or going away on Clubhouse. I'm not too sure about that one because Clubhouse is honestly a pretty easy map to drone. All you have to do is hold your cutoffs properly and just get your drones in as fast as possible. So the Jackal Band coming out's a little bit interesting to me, especially with the fact that you are leaving up a Maverick, a Habana, all your hard breach. So it's gonna be difficult.
Can maybe help with the roam game, perhaps. There is still the option of maybe bringing out the Lion. Iana's pretty good on this map as well for the nade potential. So it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows, of course, for GCU, but at least we have for both teams the option to, like you mentioned, bring out both the Habana and the Maverick. So a lot of variety here for the attacking side. Unfortunately, no Mira, so no incredibly easy extension, but those are still bound to happen at some point, especially with the first sight in the pocket being gym and bedroom here for GCU with a pretty interesting lineup. No castle to help out over on the side of Jacuzzi Wall, but that's probably because the Maverick is on the board. But still plenty of good utility. They've got the Jaeger, they've got Kona stations to heal players up if they get a little bit wounded during their first engagement, but still come out alive. And they also have Legion, which is some good pocket information so long as you can remember where exactly you've put all those goo mines.
Yeah, and obviously Legion is a little bit of kind of a classic pick. It's not really brought that much anymore. Can be really situational at times, but like you said, really, really good intel, I think. And if you understand where you're placing your goo mines, like you mentioned, can be really, really good for you as well. And I think that GCU definitely need it, considering they're not bringing a lot of util or a lot of intel. They only have a indestructible camera at the moment on the side of Smurfs. So the Gumais definitely can help, and I think that the fact that GCU are going to go for this extend as well, it can definitely provide you a lot of knowledge that you otherwise didn't have. Now we are going to be going on to a tertiary bomb site to begin us off. It's going to be gym and bedroom, which can be a very strong site at times, and I think it really comes down to how your coordination is going to rock. So we'll have to see if GCU will live up to that 7-0 moniker, and if they do play their team play really well.
Say for UNCC, I could imagine they would want to get Jacuzzi Wall opened up first and then probably rotate. The fact they have an Osa on the board in the hand of Yeti, that could allow for very easy map control, especially since we don't have a lot to really counteract those see-through shields. There could be a lot of pressure established on the main balcony towards the windows. We could see somebody slowly walk up main stairs, maybe get logic control once they want to clear through cash room. There's a lot of potential here for UNCC, and because this hard destruction is already going to go down the first minute, they have a lot of time to set up those rotates properly and just get comfortable in the round to start off against GCU's defense.
And now's the time where if Minority want to, they can rotate over towards that cash side and just start pushing over on a double basis. But at the same time, all the Herbert utility has basically been used up by Link, so I'm interested to see what they're going to do on that front. They might end up just going for a full Windows play, and you can see that's one of the reasons why Osa is being brought. Kyle and Link are hiding behind this Osa shield just so they can play safely on the metal balcony windows and pressure the gym window as well. However, Kyle is going to get spotted out here, and unfortunately, he takes a loss of a fight there to Smurfs, but just barely. A Smurf has literally lost almost all of his HP, but there is still Thunderbirds alive, so he'll basically be able to recover all of that for now. But the pressure is on here for UNC Charlotte, and they will respond with TB getting a refrag onto Dios.
Unfortunately, he's in a pretty bad spot, so he's not going to be able to get out of there alive. Men catches Rogue off guard, so that main stairs pressure is no longer there. And we still have UNCC actually trying to stay inside of Jacuzzi. No rotate, nobody playing Logi, and because of that loss of main, we could honestly just see a funnel happen here in this last minute, Adam, because there just isn't a lot of map pressure established by the offense of UNCC.
I understand that they wanted to play by the windows, but that plan has backfired as Yeti, well, his shields almost worked. It wasn't enough to protect Kyle. It's okay, it happens. But like you said, that lack of map pressure is really going to start to hurt here, as the rest of the attack is basically going to force themselves in through the windows, and they don't even have bathroom locked out yet, but there's Yeti with the response. At 12, however, will take down Link, so it's just down to Yeti and TB as they get themselves inside of the site. Case, however, is not in the hands of the attackers. They're going to have to recover that as well. And another contingency going on here for GCU is Mend is underneath. He has a C4 that he can deny plant with, but you can hear it being ripped in the distance, and it's not enough. But Smurfs through the holes will get his second kill and claim that diffuser down. It's just a 1 versus 2, and Yeti will claim the diffuser, but will be shut down by a 12th. And it's GCU. A stellar first round there, and UNC Charlotte looking a little bit dull on that attack.
A lot of isolation happened there for UNCC, which played into the cards of GCU quite well. They didn't want to have more of an anchor or fallback kind of presence on that round. They more or less wanted to keep their roam game alive, so they had the option to flank. There was no Nomad, no Zero, nothing to really watch in case someone ended up flanking from you behind and shooting you in the back. So there was a lot of good potential there for GCU just to be volatile throughout the entire round, and if they're able to go for one fights, sorry, more power to them. And that's exactly what happened. Makes sense how they ended up winning out that round. And I like the adaptation already by UNCC. The fact they noticed, hey, our roam clear, our flank, it was kind of lackluster. Let's bring a Nomad to see if we can remedy that early in the matchup without it being too much of a problem throughout the rest of this first half.
You like to see adaptations. I think that a lot of teams kind of overlook the fact that, just because you lose one round doesn't mean that your strategy, you know, can't be changed. You can mix it up a little bit, and I think that bringing the Nomad as well as a Dokkaebi now actually. Attacker repick time. Are you excited for this? I love attacker repick. But another thing you can see on the side of GCU is we're going to be bringing in Ella. So what this tells me a little bit is just by the setup as well that Mend is making, it's going to be a little bit of an upstairs roam. Now there's two ways that you typically play this site, and that is either you turtle all 5 players downstairs, or you have a little bit of a lurk game. And Smurfs, well, she's a 3-speed. That's one thing. And the other thing is she's got an Element in her pocket that she can use to anywhere that she wants to. And another thing, she got a shotgun. So a lot of I think we're going to see a lot of extending here from Smurfs just to be a disruption. And I think that that's what they need. That's what gave them their first round against Charlotte. So we'll have to see how they counter this. They do have a Dokkaebi that can be very helpful for them.
Is Smurfs going to maybe play in blue, perhaps? There aren't many good spots for a shoddy player to actually set up at. Oh, no, it's in main stairs. I've seen this a couple of times in ranked, so I guess this makes sense. You can always fall back. You've got barbed wire for audio, and it's just a loud place to be in for an attacker, too. A very high amount of activity goes on through here. So maybe Smurfs can maybe catch a couple people off guard, and they have a Gerswa in pocket, so they can just throw it when they want to fall back, and they can maybe buy them some extra time. So not a bad idea at all. The only issue is that one well-tossed grenade could potentially be this lone Ella's demise, but I don't think they're fully aware of Smurf's position, so this could be a very early pick for them, but no, the range will be pretty sufficient, and Smurfs will actually fall, and that's going to be the first pick actually favoring UNCC just because of their patience and better team play overall.
Good crossfires as well being held by Charlotte. They droned perfectly and got control of upstairs as quickly as possible and used it to their advantage very, very early on. That's one of the things that GCU have going in this setup, completely gone. That was they were relying a little bit on Smurfs to not only just make a play, but also waste a little bit of time. And for him to lose his life halfway through the round without any sort of pressure being applied is definitely going to hurt. And you can see that Charlotte are just starting to force GCU back. A 12 is going to lose a lot of HP from this freezer contest, and that's Link, who's inside. Nade going to be tossed. DS is going to get away in just the right time, but the hatch is not open just yet. Impact tricks are sufficing in terms of time delay, but at the same time, Charlotte are making really good progress on this map control. You can see Rogue is above, applying so much pressure. Yeti kind of pushing by himself through secret. It's not much, but it's pressure. It's allowing all these players on the side of GCU to basically not go anywhere.
They definitely don't have all their eggs in one basket, that is for sure. Only a matter of time though before that call has to be made, and they eventually have to drop down. Clips can get rid of Yeti. The blue pressure is no longer there for the offense, and for the most part, they only really need to deal with this hatch presence. Kyle Pogish is currently holding a cutoff angle, and that's really about it in this round. So once that drop is finally confirmed here for UNCC, there is a lot of change here for GCU to maybe have this hold still work.
They're starting to implode a little bit, though. As you can see, GCU are applying so much pressure to these attackers. Rogue is inside the site, though, and that's a miscalculation there as he's not able to make that play happen. Kyle is inside. He's claimed one, and he's lined up 3 with an LMG. 150 bullets is enough to throw this round into disarray for GCU, but Mend has the diffuser in his hands. All he has to do is play this safe and maybe keep himself alive. He's got his MG11 in hand, but he doesn't know that he's being pushed. He somehow won that. Mendy's gonna drop the hatch. How has he lived? He's got a shotgun remaining. I cannot believe it. How has that just happened?
I really have no idea, but solid patience there by Men to, at the very least, not want to go for the swing. They did not want to confirm that final kill. They understood how low the amount of time was left on the clock, and that's all that GCU needed to win. A very close call, though, I'll have to admit. We had Kyle Pog pick out a solid time to just try to walk down through main. I think it was either to drop the hatch and just go and hold them one. It was just that simple with the LMG meta, and it did a lot of work there for UNCC, but I feel like it was far too late. It took them a very long time to establish that dirt presence because the Maverick had to go blowtorch it like the last 50 seconds or so. We had Yeti ended up falling inside of blue because they weren't really in a great position to outduel the Jaeger, who was sitting behind the generator. So we still had a lot of heavy isolation, and the anger game was still very good by GCU on that last round. Now heading into CCTV and Cash Room, we have a gigantic emphasis on this util game, not only having the Jaeger and Momai combination, but we also have Smurfs on the Goyo, which a lot of people are not a big fan of currently, but still having the fire packs with the Vulcan, it still allows for a lot of stall potential, especially if you put them in common choke points like the Plat Wall, like the Rafters Walk-In, or maybe even Cash/Red, depending on how UNCC want to approach this round.
And seeing as the Monty might be brought out here by Yeti, and it is, that Goyo can be a really, really big thorn in the side of Montaigne. I mean, it's simple. You just cut off so much time with those Goyo shields, I believe, or the Goyo packs, whatever they are now. I believe it's like 20 seconds per canister, which is a lot of time. That is double smoke. It might be 20 or 15. I'll have to check my facts later, but that is a lot of time to be delayed. And I think the fact that you have 4 and the fact that you can stack them on top of each other as well without them blowing each other up, like, that is a really, really strong piece of delay. And especially against Yeti, who's going to try and get assertive, get aggressive and take map control very early on. Those Goyo packs can really help GCU to rotate and to assess the situation. You can see Yeti already going to be just a little bit forced back here by C4. Smurfs is going to toss it away, but it's going to be dead in the air. It's not really going to do much at the moment, but Yeti has now been forced out. So GCU early on kind of understanding what that's going to be, and Klimps right into TB's skull. It only took 1 bullet to make it work, and the Maverick is now gone. Dios will also claim Link, and you've lost both of your hard breachers in a span of about 2 seconds. And Smurf goes for the round to take down Kyle, and the entire round has just fallen apart for Charlotte.
And I think we had Klimps hit another one tap, that one just being off screen. Rogue wondering what just happened to the rest of his team, as he's now the lone survivor here for Charlotte, as it's a 1v5 outside of garage doorway, losing a bit of HP. They have 3 adrenaline surges. I mean, why not pop them? You get some health back, and maybe you could work a couple picks perhaps. Oh, and now he's moonwalking for a little while. I hate to see it. He's back though, so that's a relief. But overall, I think maybe we had UNCC kind of jump the gun on that round and not fully prepare themselves to what they are about to get into. We saw some decent stall there by the Vulcan blast packs, I guess you could call them, and then also just having good isolation once again. Klim's winning a couple head-to-head fights, and that was really it. But at least Rogue wins a couple of important fights and makes this a more winnable situation here for himself to maybe bring this one back if he can still work a couple 1-for-1s, but that doesn't happen. Men's gonna outduel him, and that's gonna be a 3rd round for GCU in a row.
It's really unlucky there from Charlotte. I think that GCU got aggressive and it paid off. I wouldn't expect that to work every single time, but Klimps hit some nasty shots. You mentioned it, 2 1-taps, I believe. So good on him for that. And I think that just the fact that, he was able to get away with so many aggressive swings. I'd rather, honestly, at that point, I'd rather have a gun on the garage door rather than a Montaigne, because that Monty isn't really doing much. It's a static position until he can force himself into rafters. And the fact that there's just a dead C4 lying on the ground, that stalled so much time. And like you mentioned, the blast packs from the Goyo as well, it was just a game of stalling very early on, and there just wasn't enough pressure onto garage, and it forced a lot of Charlotte to just kind of try and assert themselves, and whenever they did, they lost their heads to Klimps. So rough start there. 3-0 now for GCU, as they look very, very strong heading into this second half of the defense. And I mean, all they have to do is just keep playing like themselves. They've been playing trades very well. Their map pressure has been really well coordinated. I think they've had very, very decisive wins whenever it comes to their gunfights.
Interesting pick here for Dios to go on the Warden. We haven't seen a lot of flash grenade play. Maybe they're expecting more smokes, perhaps, to try to allow that plant to go down. I believe Yeti can bring smokes on the Osa, and Link as well can on the Thermite. So that is a potential here on the board, but still trying to go for that plant inside of weight room. The smoke grenades aren't really going to help to try to actually provide coverage, because it's basically a kill box unless you get a lot of decent map control, which we didn't see by UNCC the last time the site was in play. You're kind of signing your own death warrant at that point. So we need to see more of a proper clear by UNCC. Once they get that jacuzzi wall, only have one player sit there on the rappel and have everybody else rotate, so they can actually clear out that roam extension and then go for a proper setup, leading more in through the construction side into master bedroom.
Yeah, most of the pressure that we saw came from an Osa shield sitting over by metal windows, which really isn't going to do you that much. It's not going to serve you much of a purpose if you're just having players play outside of windows. And GCU, well, they've been very good in terms of playing passively and not giving away free picks. So that window pressure really doesn't mean much. If you allow GCU to stay alive on this extend inside of cash, it's going to come back to bite you because their retake is going to be really heavy. Now, the thing about what Charlotte did last time that I did enjoy was the fact that they did apply the proper pressure over by Jacuzzi Wall. But like you mentioned, what are you going to do from there? Charlotte stalled a lot last time. They didn't have a lot of time for options, and at that point, they started losing lives because GCU got really loose, and they were allowed to do so.
Got Dios here holding a vaultable angle on the bed of Master, trying to shoot over the Osa shield if Kyle Pog hugs it a bit too close. Not going to happen, though. It's a bit of a stalemate here. Minute 30 on the board, and we still have Charlotte mostly allocating a lot of their resources into Jacuzzi, still going for that funnel, and I think GCU has now gotten a proper read into that. They're setting up around Logi. They're playing near main stairs. They have a lot of pressure in this one part of the map because we have not seen any different positions being held by UNCC besides this vertical underneath by Rogue, going for some grenade tosses, but they're not going to find anything just yet, Jazzman.
So it looks like it is going to be a main stairs walk up, but Mend is going to shut that down immediately as Rogue goes down. You mentioned that that underneath pressure. That was about the only thing going for Charlotte in terms of a different adaptation. But that's not what was to be. TB now inside a bathroom with Kyle. They could shut down Dios here, and that'll be a really big kill, but he's still alive somehow. We'll take the fight there against TB, and Atwolf will join along. Mend is on for a second kill, and it's just a series of trades as now Kyle's on for his second kill, but he can't claim anything as Klimps will land a double of his own. And GCU, I mean, once again, just kind of reading into the fact that Charlotte have been playing the exact same round every single time. While they might switch up their operators, their playstyle hasn't changed whatsoever, and that underneath presence was, well, it was for naught.
Yeah, it was the same problem that happened the first time Jim was in play by GCU. We had somebody late flank near main to kill that one player who was isolated, except this time nobody even tried to look at CCTV or cash room. They completely avoided it like the plague, Charlotte, and they just only wanted Jacuzzi and maybe some window pressure, besides the person of main, of course, who had died. And then we had Kyle Pog, who, don't get me wrong, he's in a good spot to play for cutoffs, but he can't really hop in through that window and do a lot of damage without getting shot by someone holding a long angle, maybe through construction, for example. So not going through that step-by-step process really did cause a lot of pain there for UNCC. And if we just had that rotation at a good time, and if we had some better team play by UNCC, they really could take GCU by surprise. But unfortunately, their basics are not as good right now in comparison to GCU on this first half.
Yeah, you can see how much it's hurting because GCU have just been allowed to basically run around the entire map and just play however they want to because Charlotte are not establishing themselves well enough around the entire map. Now, last time they were on this round, it was basically more of the same thing. I think that they got upstairs presence really early on. It was a really, really good showing from the side of Charlotte, but then they just kind of fumbled. They started to fold a little bit whenever it came to their attacks. You saw Yeti get basically, swung by, I believe that was a 12 on the Jaeger last time, by the Gen player, and that was it. That blue presence was immediately evaporated, and the rest of Charlotte were just stuck into another funnel that we've been mentioning over and over again. That might be word of the day here, fellow. But it's just been the same exact thing. You have a player drop the hatch, and that's it. That's the only amount of pressure you have. Not even a little bit of dirt presence was enough to help Charlotte. So this time around, I want to see them act a little bit more on their execute. They apply a lot of pressure early on, and it's really good pressure, but it's not going to matter if it doesn't come to fruition.
So far, their map pressure is looking good here for Charlotte. They understand that both Clemson Smurfs are up above, and they will most likely need to kind of pincer them to get this top floor presence completely flushed out. Rogue Knight might not know the full position here of this K. They're actually close on the wall, but he'll still get taken care of by Rogue with great efficiency. Smurfs now knowing he's overstayed his welcome. He'll try to fall back and try to play on the middle floor perhaps. If he tries to drop the hatch though, that could be his demise. Someone's playing outside of that weight room window and watching with great patience here, Link. This could be a good opportunity to make things a 5 versus 3. We may have one trying to go for a late rotation, but besides that, things are looking phenomenal here for Charlotte on this top floor. But thankfully, Smurfs can fall back down through main. No one's playing near the fence gate, and he actually finds a pick onto Kyle Pog as well. What a comeback there by Smurfs.
Smurfs only needs to get away with his life, and he claims a kill while he's at it as well. That's a great amount of pressure there from GCU. A great response to how quickly Charlotte have got the upstairs presence on lockdown, but that is a huge kill on the side of Smurfs, who takes down the Zofia. Now, Kyle has been getting a lot of kills. He's kind of been their main entry and has been really working hard in terms of clearing out the site. So, really big kill here. Now, Charlotte are going to start to feel the pain a little bit. Their time is going to be very, very important very soon, as they need to get utility off of the hatch as well. So GCU, all they have to do is wait a little bit. Last time Charlotte attacked this, they attacked it from 2 different areas, and whenever a one-man gets shut down, that's about it. But that's a huge kill from Yeti. A really big difference here from Charlotte's last attack is that they finally have pressure from underneath. Yeti, a big kill. Now the smoke dead, your delay gone, and your C4s are also gone as well.
20 seconds left here, and it looks like Charlotte are just about ready for to hop down through these hatches and just work a couple of picks. They've got the man advantage, so all they need to do is just get that trade game established. We had a pixel peak being held, but nothing to bear any fruit just yet here for Dios. Yet he drops down, finds a very vital pick. We did have a 12, though, in the middle of Dur. Find at least something, but there's TB from the backside, just the right moment, leaving just Dios in the middle of blue to try to win this 1 versus 2. He knows TB is inside a dirt tunnel. As Ro goes off of the plant, he could have found a 1 versus 1, but he'll get off it. Now down and finished off, though, leads things into a true 1 versus 1. TB has the pistol out, but gets slowed down by the Banshee. His position well known by the Malusi, and they've got plenty of time left to defuse. A close call indeed, and a very good chance of UNCC getting their first round in the books, but it's not going to happen as GCU will shut it down.
In Charlotte's defense, their attack looked really well organized up until that execute, and it was, again, the second time that we've seen Charlotte nearly lose out on a round, or nearly win a round, rather. They were that close. You know, you could pinch a little centimeter mark with your finger. That's how close they were to winning that round. But unfortunately, GCU just had a response that time around. Dios had a response that time around, and Dios played that really, really well. He prioritized the player planting the bomb because he knew that his head was going to stick up pretty soon, and then he could take that 1vx. And then whenever it came to the dirt player, well, he just hit his shots there. And of course, stuck in the Malusi trap definitely wasn't going to help. So GCU, with a lot of pressure, it seems like no matter what Charlotte do, no matter what steps that they take, GCU always seem to have a response. They're always able to get that refrag that they need. They're always able to get a player out alive whenever they need to. They always have a nice, well-placed piece of utility to help them out as well. Their setup, their fundamentals, they're really starting to help them right now, and that's what's giving them this 5-0 lead.
I think one thing that maybe could have changed things up there for Charlotte is maybe actually having Yeti be able to go for that blue pressure. Don't get me wrong. They found 2 very important picks. Maybe not Yeti, but instead Kyle Pog. He's been that person to play for the cutoffs, to play in those key areas, to just win a couple gunfights and keep GCU at bay. And although we haven't had any rounds be won yet by UNCC on this first half, Kyle Pog has done a good job of just finding those picks at certain moments that maybe could have changed the tide to a more favorable position for Charlotte. But in that round, he died very early by Smurfs getting that refrag, and the LMG was just no longer on the board. Shockingly enough, Adam, heading back here into CCTV, we have the Montaigne on the board once again, and I think you and I both are in a bit of agreement here that it really didn't do all that much. If we don't see that proper coordination by UNCC, then this pick is unfortunately just going to force another gun down, essentially, and I feel like GCU will just capitalize upon that once again with just overt aggression.
Yeah, it would be good if Charlotte were kind of just able to react to the control that the Montaigne had, but Yeti has basically been doing absolutely nothing outside of Garage, and nobody is there to help him. Dios is on immediately for his first opening frag, and it's the fact that GCU are getting away with these kills that really concerns me. Rogue will go down in a set of nades, as well as a Finka. Basically the best attacker right now in the game. Maybe of not this map. TB is of more importance at the moment, but still a massive pick at that. It just shows who has the pressure advantage right now on the side of GCU. And now Yeti trying to establish control, but look, nobody is there to help him. Smurfs has his bottom garage locked down at the moment, but I believe there's a player in motorcycle. That's Link. He has diffuser. Somehow, some way, if Smurfs is able to find this pick from Swamp, it'll be absolutely crucial. It'll basically flip this entire round on its head here and give GCU this, but he's going to back out wisely. But again, half of the round has been wasted, and the only thing you have is the wall being open. Yeti had to forfeit his control, but Klimps playing for his life right now. He's died! Klimps is on for a second as well. That is a nice shot there from Klimps, and the fact that he's able to hold this pressure is just monumental. Dios is on for a second kill, as well as just Link in a 1 versus 5. The same exact scenario last time. One player all on his lonesome, but this time around, not a single kill will be found. GCU 6-0. The pressure is starting to mount.
And a bold statement as well by GCU. They really got away with robbery on that round. Klimps was hitting some nasty shots once again in rafters. And I really got to wonder, why did we just have the ante be up for no reason there by UNCC? Absolutely zero utility was used to clear out the player of Wamai being Klimps. I don't know why they didn't want to go for flash grenades or have that actual crossfire established, and having the Montaigne out of all people try to shoot Klimps, a bit of a risky decision because how much space that Montaigne player can create, especially in Raptors, which he really didn't do because Link fell back. And I think maybe the communication there was just not fully up there for UNCC to make that play unless Kyle Pog was aware of Link moving in a lobby, and then he was supposed to be the person to help out the Monty player of Dios. Maybe the gun was jumped, or not Dios, my mistake. I got the two teams mixed up there. But still, I think they jumped the gun, and that was not a good call against GCU, which, again, they don't mind getting aggressive. They don't mind going for gunfights because they're confident in their own skill to win those duels. And I mean, that point was proven because they took the round flawlessly to end out the first half 6-0.
Yeah, and especially because they haven't had a lot of pressure at all on the side of GCU. Like you mentioned, Klimps, no utility was burned whatsoever. I didn't hear a single flashbang. I didn't hear a single My Disc catch a piece of utility. Didn't hear an ADS burnt. None of that. It was just Klimps on his own getting swung by Monty of all things. And nobody was with said Monty in order to help Klimps, in order to help clear out Klimps, rather. It's just not the right amount of pressure. Charlotte just not really getting themselves inside and utilizing that utility that they had. They brought like 2 or 3 sets of nades that entire round, and one of them was felled early. But still, just goes to show the statement right now that's being made by GCU. It's the fact that they can play however they want to, because right now there's nothing stopping them. Not utility, not gunfights, nothing. But now it's Charlotte's turn to go on this defense, and you can see the Montaigne is being brought out by Dios. Let's see if they can properly clear him out with this shield operator.
So we already have Dios entering the building, technically speaking, gathering some information. Again, though, that gun down could maybe be an issue, especially if the coordination is here by UNCC on their defense. There is somebody oil pit, but they can't really do all that much against the Montaigne player. And if he does spot him out, that being Kyle Pog, that could allow for somebody to rotate blue and kind of flush that player out and get an early pick favoring GCU. We already have Dios stepping up in the middle of Raptors as the plat wall has been opened up as well. And oh no, this is just such a mental chalker for Rogue. He couldn't even fall back in that position, not even trying to shoot the feet of Dios there. We just had the Maestro watch his own teammate get outgunned there by the shield. Kyle Pog may find one though. There is that great equalizer, but still, having Raptors control this early on and reclaiming the man advantage, that is a huge point to prove here by GCU.
And now that you've got Kyle Pog getting that kill inside of Oil, they know that there's only 2 on site, and now Men will claim that for a second kill. 4 versus 2, and Link will go get shut down as well. It's all up to Yeti, and unfortunately he has no explosives to work with here. He has no pressure to work with as well, and GCU, they'll storm their way into this first map with a 7-0 victory, decisive, as UNC Charlotte get made an example of here.
I mean, no better way to put it. That was just a very good showing by GCU. And again, I talked about this earlier. Their basics are pretty much top notch. They know what they want to get done. They've been playing in this kind of formation of a team for quite some time. I think the only person who I have not seen play for GCU yet, just in my own personal viewership, has been a 12. But he looks pretty darn comfortable on that team. So it looks like that hasn't been really a major problem for GCU. They had an idea as to what they wanted to get done on every round, and they fell through with the plan almost every single time, and really nothing went wrong. There wasn't a lot of backlash given by UNCC, not a lot of backbone there, and I'm hoping that can change moving in the second map, because I'm really hoping to not get sent home with a 14-0 today, Adam.
Yeah, we've had some close rounds there on the side of Charlotte, but not enough to steal anything away. And I think that we might have a game on our hands here, Philo, but we'll just have to wait and see, because GCU, they'll just run through Charlotte on the first map. But we'll be back very, very shortly with map number 2. Stick around. We'll be going to Chalet. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a tragedy on Clubhouse, an absolute murder on the Clubhouse Express, as we had a 7-0 starting us off here in round of 16 playoffs between Charlotte and GCU. Klimps, the absolute demon, coming away with 7 rounds to absolutely nothing in terms of a response. What can we expect on Chalet? Maybe more of the same, or maybe a response on Charlotte's map. I'm Jazzman. This is Fellow, and welcome back to map number 2 of the round of 16 of the R6 Collegiate Championship.
Yeah, and again, this is single elimination for the playoffs. So if we don't have Charlotte manage to come back here on this map, then they're going to be sent home with empty hands. They did have a pretty strong showing during the Swiss format, but I guess just weren't able to fully keep their own against GCU right now. Maybe on this next map, though, of Chalet, that could, of course, change. We'll take a look at the operator bans as they are just being formulated right now, and I'm probably expecting about the same stuff to happen. We're definitely going to see that Thatcher pick, but maybe we will not have the default of something like a Maverick slash Flores, for example. Maybe we'll actually have the Jackal happen once again, which I feel like it didn't really do any favors for Charlotte, so I'm hoping they don't. But of course, they can't hear me, so it's most likely going to happen. There's a good chance it does.
Another Jackal ban here by Charlotte? No. Would you
Oh
believe
yeah,
it?
it's happening.
I guess maybe on Chalet a little bit more potent Jackal can be, but I wasn't a big fan of it on Clubhouse, but this one I can get. But there's a lot of diversity in terms of operators I think you can bring on Chalet attacks, but most of the time what you'll see is triple nade setup with burn as well as hard breach, and that's about it. So the bands, I mean, they might decide a little bit, but I think that in most cases, you already have your lineups pretty much pre rendered. I would say on the side of the attack. But while my ban from GCU, that is a lot of pressure right there. While my basically strong on every single site in the game, especially on sites like Bar where you have an overextend into blue. So this is going to be that's going to be an interesting ban, especially with GCU starting out on defense. Let's see how they are going to decide to adapt to it.
And GCU, they didn't bring it every round on map one, but they brought it a couple times, and I thought Klimps did fit that role pretty well. So it is a bit peculiar to see that not as an option now because it's banned, but maybe that could allow for more of an attacker favored setup here on Chalet, which this map has always favored the attackers a bit more in comparison to the defense or in comparison to other maps that we see in the comp pool. So maybe it's just enforcing that one factor a bit more than expected. There's still plenty of util, though, you can have on the board to deny the offense's secondary gadgets. You could still have the Jaeger. There's the Aruni, which we saw in play a lot by GCU. And then you've got other interesting options. You've got Smurfs on the Thorn. The Razor Blooms could be an interesting way of maybe having that element of surprise against Charlotte, which was a great thing to have for GCU because they were constantly on that roam game, constantly trying to go for flanks and constantly trying to enforce those multi approaches on their defense. So maybe this could be something that could help them out, having those Razor Blooms and still having the flank be an option. It's definitely something nice to see rather than just having that whole util simulator that we see all the time when going to barn gaming at them.
Yeah, and you talked about those roams and those flanks. They were basically never shut down on the side of Charlotte,
Yep.
mainly just because of the fact that they brought an operator and just kind of won it, set it and forget it in a way. They brought the Nomad and they're like, yeah, this will be enough. When reality, it wasn't. Nomad is good, but Nomad cannot stop every single flank. She is not perfect. Therefore, GCU are going to take full advantage of that. And I think that Charlotte are going to have a really tough time in terms of getting rid of that upstairs presence, especially if, the previous rounds were of any note. Now, on Clubhouse, what we saw was just tiny extensions, and in most cases, what Charlotte would do is completely ignore them. You can't do that on Chalet. You absolutely must not do that on Chalet. I'll preface that as hard as I can. Do not try and ignore the presence. It'll be your own demise.
I don't believe we have Charlotte actually trying to deny that presence, at least on the top floor. They are going to assert themselves pretty early on to get rid of these players such as Klimps, and I believe a 12th is still up here as well, to see what they can try to get away with in terms of opening duels. It actually is just Klimps right now until we have Dios begin to walk his way up into blue stairs, and we have that flank, of course, being attempted by Smurfs. He's all the way in the back of Solar, so maybe later in the round he'll be more impactful, but for now, it'll be just kind of a quiet footnote here for the defense as we have Charlotte just about ready to start poking and prodding at this top floor extension.
Oh, my ban is definitely going to hurt right now as Link is going to try and force Klimps out of this position, but he's wasting about half of the round, and Klimps is known to be quite the aggressive player as well on this control, but it's not going to matter, as no library presence is definitely going to hurt GCU early on, as it's 2 kills going in the way of Charlotte. They completely clear the top floor, and they heed my advice. They didn't ignore it. They just went for it, and it was a really good execute. Now Mend and Smurfs are left to defend the entire site in a 2 versus 5 and try and even hold on to their own lives. Nate is going to be dropped down the hatch there as Yeti's on for his 3rd kill. He'll be shut down, and now 1 versus 3. But Men stuck inside a bar. A second kill here for men, but it's not a third, as Kyle instead will drop into fireplace and send GCU on their way. The flawless entire series has been shut down. Charlotte finally get their first round in the entire series, and it's quite a decisive one.
Have to agree, they had a very solid plan going into that top floor, and it was also really only Klimps for a good few moments on that top floor. We of course had at least the Thunderbird up in the blue stairs for a little while, but not enough to really write home about. There just wasn't a lot expended up to that top floor, and that did allow Charlotte to basically just run through the top floor almost immediately, despite the fact they did waste a lot of time just kind of setting themselves up to go in the right positions. And I think this might be the idea of having Smurfs on the Thorn, is because we saw a lot of stalling by Charlotte on map number 1, and having those Razor Blooms force you back again once they get activated. That's another small thing to help with the stall potential. And also is good for stall the castle, especially if there is no sledge on the board, which right now is the case, but it could be repicked onto a sledge, which wouldn't be a horrible idea, or at least some sort of main soft destructor to help with those panels.
And obviously, I think that Charlotte have been really good whenever it comes to underneath pressure. So they can kind of work around the fact that they don't have soft destruction, maybe just use the nades from underneath, but still, like you said, it's gonna be a little difficult. But still got nades as well on the side of Charlotte, which I think have been very influential throughout this entire game. I think that's one key piece of utility here for Charlotte that we see either make or break one of their attacks, and you also see a lot of burn, and also the Flores. So utility is definitely not short here for GCU. And Dios. Wow, that's a lot of HP gone very early on here, and he's going to be forced out of library into mezzanine. Not a good start here, and Klimps will go down as well. C4 now gone, and a lot of control shut down on the side of GCU very, very early on. Not the start you want here for your defender side.
Already been a very humbling first half for GCU. This is nothing like what they had just played on for Clubhouse. Already losing Klimps, already having Dios low in HP. A very drastic difference between these two maps so far, with Charlotte just seeming much more comfortable in this new environment. They're already trying to clear out their top blue. They've got library control established. The only thing to worry about is Smurfs going on a flank. We saw men do this quite often on map number 1, and now Smurfs will try to follow in their footsteps, just this time out on the Thorn pick rather than a flanking mute, of course, with that SMG 11.
Pretty good on the SMG so far, but Dios is going to get shut down as well. And Fellow, there's a lot of opening kills that we're constantly seeing on the side of Charlotte that they didn't have initially on Clubhouse. They've got a lot more confident coming in to this second map, and well, Kyle will go down at the same time, but he's done his due diligence. He's used his utility quite effectively, and the wall is now open. However, there is a 12th playing behind the half wall here, just trying to reclaim their man advantage, or at least a man equalizer. He absolutely needs this kill here. He's stuck, essentially. You can't really go much else, so he might as well make his presence known and apply some sort of pressure as a minute remains. And, well, Charlotte, their executes have been pretty solid so far. We'll have to see if they can make this one work, as Rogue is going to swing over from K9 and down a 12. It's a double kill that goes completely unanswered on the side of GCU, as they're now in for 2 versus 4.
There's a C4. Not going to connect, though. TB already on that plant. Smurfs next to the rotate hole, but gets quickly taken care of by Yeti. And now it's just men off the site with a TCSG out of all weapons to have on the K. Don't get me wrong, this thing can hit like a truck, but being able to finish off 3 people that are on full health and also someone who's been halved, not a very likely position to come out as a victor here for men. And with the timer still going down, yeah, there's not much left for the Kai to do. So he'll just sit in the back of bar stock and just talk with his teammates, seeing what's going wrong. I feel like the biggest thing so far for GCU has got to be, out of it, it's been the fact we've been seeing their hands basically bled out on the table so many times. Charlotte, they already know what their opponents are trying to do, and they've been able to counteract it very methodically with basically their own aggression, winning those 1-for-1 gunfights, and then just swiftly moving through the map. It doesn't matter if they hard stall halfway through that push, because they've got the man advantage, and they still have good positions to eventually go for that site execute and not jump the gun like they did constantly on map number 1.
Yeah, like you said, that early onset pressure onto the GCU defense is really starting to hurt, and Charlotte have just been getting in super early on. We saw that on Clubhouse, little glimpses of it on the basement defense, where Well, Charlotte were pretty good whenever it came to clearing the third and second floor, but they just couldn't crack that execute. This time around, though, completely different. They've got themselves inside. They've got the case down pretty efficiently, and they've also just applied pressure in quite a monumental way. They've spread their forces pretty well, and while they have been pretty aggressive, it hasn't been to a fault. CLT have been very rewarded whenever it comes to their aggression. And it's something that GCU are going to have to work on here. You cannot allow this aggression to go completely unpunished, as we've been seeing on this defense. Very contrary to what we saw in Clubhouse, where anytime Charlotte made a move, they were shut down almost instantly.
Getting back to Barn Gaming here for GCU. They have the Aruni on the board, so that can help with, of course, making rotate holes to fasten up that process, and also having more burn for the offense to now deal with, having the Surya Gates and the ADSs as well to boot. Still only one shield, and that's most likely going to be put on Blue Stairwell. Yep, that's where Dios will place his deployable. So we're not going to have a very heavy presence near mezzanine. We could have somebody just sitting there with a proxy, but if they need to fall back, they'll just hop down into main lobby and just try to fall back into bar, perhaps to go help with the site presence, or go on a late flank and reposition near blue stairs. It's not going to be a very long and hard stall setup here by GCU. The big stall will happen by UNCC by their own hands, most likely, as they'll need to do a lot of clearing out that top floor. But they actually go for a bottom to top clear first and foremost, and actually catches Kyle Pog off guard, as they're not expecting anybody to be on that basement room as of yet, Adam, and it actually costs them another life as well.
Wow.
Dios already opens up with two big ones.
Pretty unexpected start here from Charlotte, as they just try and solo push an alibi, and it goes completely south. Now, what I was kind of worried about here from this GCU defense is the fact that they had a major hole in their top floor control, and that was the fact that Library was basically never held by the defense. But with two players already down, with you losing nades and Flores's, it doesn't really matter anymore. You can't really force anyone out of anywhere. All you have is two sets of flashbangs, which is going to be a lot of burn. We only have two nades to work with here. That's on the hands of Rogue, who is inside of West Main. And if he loses this gunfight, that could be round, but it's not. As Rogue, spear versus spear, he comes out on top, and he'll even claim a second. That is unfortunate. A 12 just finds himself in a very unfortunate situation, and all that pressure that GCU could have toyed around with has now disappeared.
Case is still in the pocket of TB. So best case scenario, we could have UNCC just kind of brush off the fact they lost two by Dios on the basement floor and maybe go for more of a default kind of push. Dioso still holding blue, gets a third before being finished off by Rogue. Both these players having 3 kills, but one of them eventually falling. TB here's the flank attempted by Klimps, and it's going to fail, leaving just Mend now in the 1 versus 2, and he'll get shut down by Rogue. A fantastic comeback from such a huge loss of life at the beginning of that round. It's still Charlotte to secure another round in the books, as they are still doing fantastic on the offense.
GCU just, I mean, we talked about how they needed to rotate down once their pressure was done. They didn't do any of that. They played super static. They didn't take advantage of the fact that they had a 2-man advantage. They just forced themselves. They took gunfights that were unnecessary. I mean, a 12 was playing bottom main for whatever reason. It just didn't seem like it didn't seem like GCU had a hand on their defense. They were all over the place. They were scrambled, even off of 2 kills. Dios was still in that basement position instead of inside of the site. Any pressure that they had was nullified because GCU just decided to make more individual plays. And while it netted them 2 kills the first time, it ended up netting them 3 deaths the second. So we're going to be going down to basement, as we're just going to completely switch off of this bar games, which has been unsuccessful twice now. Let's see if they can win this site. This site comes down to how well you can rotate back if you need to. And so far, we've been seeing that be a really painful sort of objective here for GCU.
They have much more burn, I should say, much more stall. They've got the Goyo on the board here by Klimps, who hasn't been doing that well. Trying to go for more of that active position in the late round, so maybe him just anchoring up in the site could be helpful, perhaps, or he'll just end up still trying to run around with the Vector, which could maybe find him a couple of picks. But so far, not doing all that much against the outward aggression of UNCC. They've been doing much better overall, quite clearly, as they're up 3-0 against GCU, a team that just stomped them on Clubhouse. So I've been loving the adaptation. It's been much better team play by Charlotte. And I think you mentioned this briefly as well, and I'll kind of harp back on it again. We've seen a lot of overextension by GCU. They don't really know when they need to fall back, even when they've got the man advantage. You don't need to keep running around throughout the entire map for the whole round. You can have a moment where you want to play more passive and force Charlotte to actually come to you. And oh no, Smurfs already dead off the rip, unfortunately. That's going to give UNCC yet another man advantage in the fourth round this time.
You were literally analyzing what just basically happened before it happened. The Smurfs was too eager to try and hold this blue position, and when he was droned, when he was E1D'd, he still didn't leave. He still didn't try and play for his life, and it's costed him a C4, as well as a life, as well as all of your top 4 presence. GCU are now forced down into the basement, and all that they can show for it is a loss of a teammate. It's a really rough start here on the side of the defense, and once again, Charlotte have been pretty good whenever it comes to just clearing out whatever needs to be cleared. Their executes are what you need to watch out for, I think, if you are, if you are Charlotte. But at the same time, 3 rounds really does speak for itself here. 12 is going to be forced out, and you can see the scramble that GCU are in right now. Dios is going to try and make a play, but he is shut down. Mend as well. He'll get shut down too, as Kyle completely steals that play away from him. It's a 5 versus 2. GCU are crumbling here as Kyle going to move his way down. Blue, back turn here, cover a 12. He won't win the gunfight. That's so unfortunate. And it's just Klimps all by himself, and Kyle is on for yet another. How has this happened? GCU, their fortune has been completely turned around. And Charlotte, they're making a statement here. 4 rounds on a chalet attack.
Only Smurfs as well on the roam. That's a very interesting idea by GCU, and one that doesn't really sit well with me. If you want to go for more of an anchor setup, you probably shouldn't be playing on a site like the basement where you can enable yourself to play on both the top and middle floor for a very long time. And again, the heroism plays being attempted by GCU here, they're just not working. UNCC, they finally have a good understanding of how GCU want to play, and they're capitalizing off of that play style pretty much every single round now, up 4-0. So if we saw better team play, better cohesion, and maybe more of a reluctancy to actually want to fall back and play for that mid-floor pressure rather than trying to hold on the top floor until you die, that could have been a very different round for GCU. However, that did not come into fruition. They had most of their presence on the basement floor, and when they tried to retake that mid floor while Vert was going down, there was great coverage established by UNCC to make sure that never became a problem. All they had to do was walk in the site and kill 2 more people.
Now GCU are going to switch it to an upstairs attack. Sorry, upstairs defense, rather. Last time what we saw here from GCU was basically their setup being completely null and void because they lost way too many lives early for it to really do anything. Now, an interesting thing is that they have all 4 of the box walls reinforced, meaning that while you can hold piano, it's not going to do you much in terms of that default plant that Charlotte usually like to go for. You can't shoot from the side walls. You're going to have to rely fully on utility. And well, fellow, we've been seeing GCU die a lot early. That utility doesn't really matter whenever you're dead, but Dios is going to flip the fortune here as Rogue will be the first to die. 10 kills to his name and a set of nades gone. So maybe the analysis that I just made might apply here to Charlotte, as they only have 1 set of nades to go around now.
3 flashes, though, and only need to worry about both the Stereo Gates and the ADSs. This could allow for a lot of key positions to be cleared out just with a simple flash grenade, depending on what they can get away with. Before that, of course, I mean, they are basically mini Candelas, so put in the right position, they will fully blind a defender, and that can allow another pick to be worked to actually equalize this position here for UNCC. But that's if they get themselves in the right area to actually utilize those flash grenades. Looks like they'll have to do that, though. Getting control of Library Hallway, getting the back wall leading into offices opened up as well in a matter of moments. Absolutely nothing to actually stop that wall from being opened up. No mute this time around. So it's still decent map control and decent pacing by UNCC. But before they go into that, of course, final push into the site, they've got to try to find some sort of equalizer and maybe weaken this presence inside of piano as well.
Charlotte, I think, will clear the shield here. No, that's not good for the shield. They're going to have to use one of their sets of nades on this. Yeti still has 2 in his back pocket, and as long as they can get him over into Ivy safely, which they should be able to, the window cutoff is being held. There's your shield gone. GCU, they don't have a lot to fall back on right now. 12 is basically the only man that is able to hold this site together right now. And if he dies, what's left for GCU? They're going to have to play the two C4s that they have, as well as maybe Klimps, who could get aggressive. The fact that Klimps hasn't been forced out of piano yet is astonishing, but Link will shut down Klimps off of a swing. A lot of pressure has just been forfeited here by GCU. Nades from underneath as well, right underneath of Yeti, and a 12 is not going to be able to do anything about it, as he is simply going to swallow that nade like he swallows his pride. Kyle as well onto Smurfs. It's just down to 2 versus 4. Mend and Dios have just seen the entirety of their setup crumble beneath them, but Mend will at least get 1 kill to make up for it. 30 seconds left, and Dios has got one to his right as well, inside of Piano. The swing comes out, but it's a miss, as Link will get traded here by Mend, but he's going to walk right into the hands of Yeti. And Charlotte looking indomitable right now on Chalet. Maybe a 7-0 response is what they need, as they'll claim 5 rounds with 0 response.
Really looks like we might have had 2 maps that just should not have went in the pool for either team. I mean, this was one of the maps where UNCC actually 7-0'd against University at Buffalo, so it really makes sense why they're doing so well right now, I suppose. But having 2 drastically different scoring maps, it leaves so many questions in my mind as to what exactly is going to entail when we go to Oregon, or even if we go to Oregon. Nothing has been fully decided just yet, but it really seems like GCU just don't have a full elaboration as to what they want to do here on Chalet. Similar to how it was for Charlotte when they were on Clubhouse, it just seemed like they had a general understanding of what they wanted to do, but when/how they went about that process, it forced them to be punished by their opponents. So although there is still a good chance for GCU to come back in this position, because we know how attacker favored this map can be, it's looking like that might not be the case, and we could potentially go to a 3rd map sooner than what we probably all expected out of.
And we're going over to Oregon. I'd say the great equalizer of all the maps in the game, a common map, a common field that basically everyone understands. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is just 2 maps that just slip by somehow. Clubhouse extremely strong for GCU and Chalet. Oh, you're seeing it on the top of your screen. So now we'll just have to see what GCU can do in terms of response. They've been bringing basically the exact same setup every single time, and that's about it. Charlotte, I've just been able to capitalize each and every single time. They played optimally, and these rounds have basically been going by in the same exact manner. You can see that Charlotte haven't really changed up their attack much. They haven't really changed up their lineup all that much. Lion has been brought almost every single round with a Finka and a 2 nades to pair it as well. All that Charlotte are doing are just reading into the exact same attack that they've been doing for the past 3 rounds now, as Rogue will find Klimps very early on. 6 deaths to his name, but Smurfs will get a refrag. Now is the time for GCU to collect themselves. Don't give up any lives, but at the same time here, you can see, fellow, that Smurfs and Dios are now on a task mission, on a task force rather, to try and take this upstairs control once again. As Dios claims Kyle, it's 4 versus 3. GCU have the man advantage.
Thankfully, with the top fragger gone once again, that is a small sigh of relief, but we still have had Yeti, Link, and TB kind of all do their part really well. So it's no one's out of the woodwork just yet, of course. And speaking of the devil, there's Yeti, the 2nd best fragger here for UNCC to net a very important pick. Dios gets over aggressive once again and just gets caught in the shift key. An E1D gets popped as well, allowing extra map control to be established by Charlotte once again. They've got that top floor pressure. They can start working their way through the hatches, and now they know somebody's in mudroom. They could theoretically have somebody rotate outside to play on that window and guarantee a 3 versus 2 position, and then that would only lead 1 defender on the site, as we've got the smoke of Mend out on blue. He may find one onto Yeti, but it's only a matter of time before both him and Smokes get flushed out.
3 versus 2, and GCU, they have solid positions, but you can see that they forfeited the site. At least one player has, as a 12 will go down, and that is site in the hands of GCU, or sorry, in the hands of Charlotte. Mend, he's stuck downstairs. Smurf is stuck inside of mud, but he's able to make a kill out of it. It's just a 2 versus 1 now. GCU looking like they could take their first round if they play this properly. TV's gonna have to swing into the player inside of mud. The flashbang will come on through, but he swings first. All while blind. He denies the flawless here. It's a 1-5 now. Still in the hands of Charlotte. The game has not ended yet, but GCU, they'll have some sort of response as they take the attacking side now.
And I think how TB should have rotated there was just outside instead of dropping through the hatch. Don't get me wrong, he killed the player in sight and could have went for a plant, but they still needed to worry about both Mend and Smurf, who were basically played like a buddy system, kind of like an anti-flash, because no one even rotated into the basement to kill the smoke player on blue. So because we didn't see the proper rotation happen there by Charlotte and they got a little carried away, that allowed GCU to still hold out on that round, despite it would have taken just one person to pre-fire through the back window, and that would have killed Smurfs. And then they could have pushed the player on site and forced Men's to either rotate all the way through the basement while the plant's going down, or just try to brute force his way into site through blue hallway. Either way, it wouldn't have been a good position for GCU, yet they were allowed to come back from that position. They'll get a singular round, but still, a 5-1 split, that is nothing to complain about. Charlotte must be so ecstatic that they almost 6-0'd the opponents that flawlessly wiped them on the previous map.
Yeah, and they've been playing really well as well. The mistakes that
Yeah.
we mentioned on Clubhouse basically fixed at this point. They've been playing really coordinated. They haven't swung anything that didn't need to be swung. They've just been able to get each other's refrags and I think establish their map pressure a lot better. So it's not just the fact that this is a better map for them. They are just playing as a better team at the moment. So it's a good start here for Charlotte if they're looking to take us to map 3. Like you said, off of a 7-0 on the side of GCU, who, well, they've been shaky at most. We'll have to see what they can do here as they move on to their attack and get themselves started. They are on the more favorable side this time around. It's just how strong is GCU's attack if their defense looked as lackluster as it did?
Starting out here for GCU. On the new side, they are going to try to get library control early on. This is a very important part of the map to get because how much is kind of proxying around library. You've got the two top hallways of Mez and then like jungle slash blue hall. So very important stuff to be working with here for GCU, and they're already going to hop in the building and force people back via those Rotero drones. So a good start by the offense, don't get me wrong. Still, though, a lot to appear once they begin to get that hard destruction down. And there is a good anchor setup here established by Charlotte. Not only that, but they do have a slight extension on that middle floor as well, which could allow for A, a flank, and B, vertical cover to stop a plant if that becomes an option for GCU later on.
See, the GCU have got the proper pressure at the moment. Now all they need to do is start to worry about what's the next step. You can see Dios. Wow, that's a massive kill there on the side of GCU as they clear out not only one player, but as well as the wall utility. The mute jammers gone and forgotten. Now, what I am interested in, Charlotte are still underneath. They still have control of dining. Is this going to be contested here by GCU at all? No, you're going to see as TB will rotate upstairs and conserve his life. Absolutely needed at the moment as Rogue loses his off of a flank. You're going to need all the manpower that you can possibly have to try and stop this GCU attack. Possibly this GCU execute as we're going to see flashbangs coming on through to burn the utility here. Still Kyle Pog playing inside of office, but he's going to be shut down by Smurfs. A pretty ballsy play there from Smurfs, but he gets away with it. Now, 5 versus 2 as Mend claims Yeti. Piano is completely cleared out now. It's just up to Link as everything is falling apart here for Charlotte. The attack from GCU, that's a good sign as they get a flawless here to start us off 5-2. 3 more rounds and we'll be equal.
Still some life in the GCU players as they are roaring out of the gates on their attacking half. And I mean, once again, isolation. We saw Charlotte kind of get antsy on that round and not picking the perfect moment to go on that flank. It should have been done much earlier, or it just shouldn't have happened, and a fallback could have been necessary instead. And I feel like if we had that middle floor pressure actually kept by Charlotte rather than the latter happening of someone dying early on by the hands of Dios, your top fragger, I think it was yet again, funny enough, and then having basically TB forced to go back to the top floor, that could have been a very different round. And we might have not seen as much aggression by GCU because they still understood, all right, we need to deal with the middle floor before we fully clear through the actual site presence. But that never became a problem because we had Dios work the opening duel against Rogue, and then TB worked his way back upstairs. So a good clear by GCU and a flawless round altogether, which you always love to see. I believe that being their second one overall throughout this best of 3. So they're still trying to have a statement here in the second map, and they're really trying to not go to Oregon. I don't think they want that happening, Adam.
And they've got a long ways to go, but if they continue to play this attack as they have, Basically, I mean, I think we're just seeing shades of the old, clubhouse GCU. Their attacks were very well coordinated. They struck hard and they struck fast, and GCU just made an example out of Charlotte last time. So let's see if GCU can continue that exact same playstyle. If they can just basically force Charlotte's hand, don't allow Charlotte to have the upper hand when it comes to that pressure. We saw that happen 5 rounds now on Chalet, where Charlotte were just able to run amok on GCU because they had so much map presence and they had so much pressure. You must deny them of that right, and we'll have to see what GCU will do as a response. You can see that they've got their drones in pretty early on, and they're going to be going for what looks like a contestation of this piano office hold, which is going to deny a lot of your vertical angles for what looks like what might be a dining execute.
GCU just about ready to finish out through the rest of this top floor. I'd like to see somebody rotate maybe and go play on the big window repel, because that's another good cutoff angle you can have, especially when there's multiple people playing for that roam game. Very early fallback by Kyle Pog. Really no pressure being established anywhere but master or pardon offices, but you can just hold a couple passive angles from piano, from bathroom, or hell, even inside of master bed itself, because there's no one on that window repel. But somebody who does overstay their welcome is Rogue, as he gets caught in a bad position inside a closet, and now TB has to make that decision whether he wants to fall back or not. He takes too long to decide, and as he tries to outduel Dios, it's not going to work out for him, and now it's a 5 versus 3 favoring GCU as they've got that top floor control once again.
It should definitely not be this easy to gain top floor control. You can see how much that is going to hurt on the side of GCU, sorry, on the side of Charlotte, as not only did you claim 2 lives, but you also claim full control of upstairs. Not just office, not just master, as Dios is on for his 3rd kill. Mend might be downed and finished, but it's still so much pressure on the side of GCU. The entirety of the Charlotte defense is basically split in half as Link and Kyle are on opposite sides of the map, and it's just down to a 4 versus 2. Dios holding this trophy stairs is he's completely stuck here, I think. Or Link rather is completely stuck here. He's being shaded off from all sides above him. Fireplace as well as trophy. And well, maybe Kyle can alleviate a little bit of that pressure as he's on for 2. He's on for 3, and he's got Case. Hold on. This might have just flipped in the hands of CLT as they've got Case in their hands. It's just down to Dios, who's on for his quad. Kyle will now have to rotate back. He's going to have to force himself away from that diffuser. And now a 1 versus 2 as Klims is able to recover that. Dios is on for an absolutely incredible round here. An astonishing performance, but he's got to find one more player, and he does it! A beautiful shot there from Dios. GCU winning an absolutely crucial round. It's going to be 3-5. They're starting to mount a comeback.
And off the back of Dios just shooting people with the LMG, I mean, it doesn't get old, but man, there was a lot of indecisiveness there by UNCC, besides Kyle Pog, of course, who played that round as best as he could in a 1vx position, able to isolate a lot of different attackers there on the previous round. But allowing Dios to just kind of one-man army clear to the top floor and then rotate back down and just kill everybody, that's a bit frightening, at least in my mind. Don't get me wrong, the LMG, it's a fantastic gun, and if there's any weapon you're going to ace with, that's probably one of the top ones I could imagine you do it with. But again, allowing him to go for 1-for-1s and just completely move through the top floor like a machine, as if there was no extension being intended there by UNCC. Again, that is just a frightening sight to behold. And slowly, and most definitely surely, we are seeing this advantage that UNCC kind of gathered throughout the first half slowly dwindle away, as GCU are once again revealing their true strengths and also revealing the weaknesses that UNCC had on map number 1.
And Charlotte now going to try and go for a bar defense. Now, obviously, GCU banned Wamai. So, it's going to be tough. There's no other way around it. It's just going to be very difficult. You have to spread 3DSs thin and use a Rooney gates as well. It's not going to be easy here, I think, for Charlotte. But it can be a make it or break it round here for them as well. We'll have to see how GCU play against this one, because so far they've had no issues in terms of clearing the extensions that Charlotte have been putting up. This is probably by far the toughest one that they're going to go against as well, just because of how difficult it can be to break through this setup of 2 shields placed either on Mez as well as top Ivy. So I don't know. It's just the fact that Charlotte have just been able to play, sorry, it's the fact that GCU has just been able to run through these extensions every single time on the side of Charlotte. This is it. I think this is a make or break round, not only just for Charlotte to claim that match point, but also just show if GCU really do have it in them to take us all the way. But they've already got themselves established inside of office, but a 12th going down certainly isn't going to help.
I wasn't able to clear out TB just yet inside a library. Nobody going in for flashes or grenades at best. Still worrying about most of the pressure near the office side of the map. Dios does find a refrag. Kyle Pog now gone, but Rogue is still in library stairs / blue, and we also have TB who has not fallen back just yet. And that's a beautiful read by Yeti. A nice double C4 landed on both Klimps and Smurfs through the floor. And now it's only Dios and Mend. Don't get me wrong, we saw Dios find an ace on the previous round, but that was in a position where they had the lead, where they were in a good spot. Dios and just Mend are the last two players standing here for GCU, and they're in a very make or break moment here where they have a strong chance of losing because of that Nitro Cell play. And now all that UNCC has to do is fall back to that middle floor, sit around, and just wait for GCU to make that final decision.
Thank God you have Diaz in the situation, though, who has just been tearing it up so far on this attack. But what can he really do in this scenario? Charlotte are not giving them any free picks. Yet he's going to swing, though. And as I say that, 2 kills go in the way of GCU in incredible fashion. Now it's just turned into a 2 versus 2. We talked about, I literally just said they haven't given up lives. But this time around, it's different. Rogue now. Make it or if you want to talk about make it or break it, this is it right here. Can he win this gunfight? He'll be spotted out. Rogue is now forced downstairs, and he's won the gunfight against Mend. But can he do it again? It's back and forth between these two teams, and Dios has claimed his kill onto Link. It's just down to Rogue in a 1 versus 1. Bailiff in hand and no HP. What can he do here? 20 seconds, and Dios has got a massive choice to make here. Go for the diffuser or go for the kill. And if he goes for the kill, Rogue is on the opposite side of the basement. Dios is going to have to recover the diffuser, but now Rogue has made his way upstairs. 10 seconds remaining. Pressure is applied here to Dios. What can he do? He's going to chase the kill, but he can't find the player. Diffuser's going to go for it. It's too late. And Charlotte, they made mistakes. They almost costed themselves the entire round. But somehow they've climbed back, and it's now match point in their hands.
I have really got to question, men. Why are you running at Rogue? Why? You have Case with no utility. If you're gonna be the one to lead that charge, at least have Dios try to concuss the alibi to give some sort of advantage. Flashbang him. Why are you running at Rogue, who has been known to win those gunfights? That was Case completely allocated back to the defense. And then Dios again had to go for a Hail Mary play. You cannot be having that happen. Either isolate the player on site and wait for the alibi to go make a rotate, like I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this matchup, a similar story where GCU had to make the decision in the hands of Smurfs on blue stairs, or you isolate the player on blue and then deal with the site presence. You can't be just running at this person and then backpedaling once they've already killed somebody. You've got to at least get that refrag and then go for the last person in the site. That was just, I talked about indecisiveness the round before last round, and it happened once again on the 9th one, and that is the only reason why GCU have managed to put themselves into match point, not favoring themselves. It was just that one simple blunder after UNCC almost were asking GCU to put themselves in an equalized position.
Seems like the pressure is on here, fellow. It seems like both teams making blunders that have, well, it almost went in the way of GCU whenever we saw Charlotte lose 2 bodies in a 2 versus 4. But like you said, running at the player bottom Ivy with the diffuser, not ever a good idea. And unfortunately, that individual play is going to cost GCU a lot. Now Kyle contesting this. It's a dangerous contest as the wall inside of the library cubby is completely soft. You can get shot through that wall. It's a pretty common pre-fire and lose his life, so he's got to be very careful with how he handles this. But GCU now making their presence known. Their drone work has been pretty efficient so far throughout this entire series, and you can see that's going to come to fruition. But at the same time, Dios is now going to lose that drone. He's going to get aggressive here. It's going to be quite the solo play, and he's been very successful with those so far, but you can't count on it every single time. But in all of this chaos, GCU will get themselves above at least to start their attack.
No one here on this top floor. Either we only had Kyle Pog, I think, just light roaming, and we already saw him fall back through blue. So that can allow for vertical play to be established pretty early on here by GCU. That's not a bad thing at all. We do have TB actually still holding top floor, and he's got backup by Rogue, so there is a potential for a refrag and a very long angle as well that TB could maybe catch one player off guard, but most likely they'll have to hit the headshot as this UMP 45 just does no damage, breaking that Vulcan fire pack will now give away his position just slightly. Now a drone will confirm that too. Overall, I like the commitment here by UNCC to at least hold some part of the top floor without fully giving that up, and also not putting themselves in a position where they're just going to get shot at by GCU off the rip and give them a man advantage.
And last time we saw 2 lives lost off of this, but this time around it's going to be a life lost for the side of GCU. TB somehow wins that, and now its pressure is really on for GCU. You can see that Charlotte are going to rotate back. They have completely vanished from this solar room. And like you said, they put themselves in a much better position this time around where they can rotate back and keep their bodies alive. And not only are they alive, but they've also claimed a kill for their sins as well. It is a 5 versus 4, and GCU are really in a rough spot here. They got to get themselves established now. And they have the top floor presence. But are they going to be able to get the wall anytime soon is the big question. Mend, he has diffuser and he's going to start walking down main. It's a bad sign here, fella. I don't like seeing that.
Not a lot of time left. This is, like you mentioned, not a good spot for GCU. They still have to find some sort of kill, and then, of course, have to go for that defuse while there is plenty of denial on the board. You've got the Vulcans. You've got the vertical by TB as well. Link may fall, but still a very big hill to climb here, and only for men to try to traverse that. It's not looking all that hopeful. Spots out Kyle Pog, but cannot land the shots to confirm that kill, and there we have it. We are, in fact, going to a third map as we have Charlotte claw their way back and win 7-3 on their pick of Chalet. It's not over just yet, Adam.
A pretty shocking turn of events after a 7-0 on the side of GCU, but now Charlotte will make themselves known 7-3, basically dominating GCU throughout that entire map. And a lot of individual mistakes being made by GCU, but not only that, also being capitalized on by Charlotte really, really well as well. Refrags are aplenty. They rotated and they learned from their mistakes the first time around, especially on that master defense, where that time, instead of swinging like an animal and just losing 2 of your lives, we actually had a kill and a full rotate back. They used their utility and they used their site presence to their advantage and just decided that we don't need to lose bodies for no reason. It was a big blunder on the side of GCU. They just ran right into that defense there, and they got really, really split up where they made individual plays, and they tried to make individual plays, and it just simply didn't work. So we're on to map 3 now, fellow. We're on to Oregon. We'll be back with that very, very shortly, though, as we got a little bit of a break to worry about here. We'll be back in just a few moments. ladies and gentlemen, it's not a round of 16 without at least one map 3, is it not? It's a playoff time, baby. Let's get our map 3s in. I'm Jazzman. This is Fellow. We're going to Oregon, baby.
Yeah, and although we had two relatively one-sided affairs, I feel like we're not going to see that in Oregon. I have a strange suspicion that we're not going to have just a 7-0, 7-3, then follow up with like a 7-2 or something. I find that really hard to believe. Almost everybody knows how to play in Oregon. It makes sense that we're going to have more of a proper bite back between both UNCC and GCU, and not just have one of the two teams try to just mop each other off the face of the earth.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking kind of the same thing. I mean, it's probably the most balanced map in the game right now. As any team takes it, every team knows how to play this map. It's one of the most common maps, not only in competitive but sometimes even in your ranked games. I'm pretty sure a 5-year-old child knows how to play this map. So everyone knows. And I think that that's going to be a big benefactor to both of these teams is the fact that they just understand how to play this. And I think that it's going to come down to just who plays better. And we've seen the best of both worlds from both of these teams. We've seen what Charlotte can do when they're on their best, and we've seen what the University of Grand Canyon can do when they're on their best. Let's see what they can do on Oregon.
Well, a Maverick and then a Lion ban. That is not what I expected. I thought Charlotte were going to go for the Jackal once again, but no, they are opting for a hard breach, although a very good one for the map of Oregon. We do have Thatcher on the board, though, because of that Lion ban, and now Mira to follow. So, really, everything besides that Lion pick, which probably feels more like a target ban because Charlotte loved to bring him out almost every single round on their attacks of Chalet. I could really imagine this being a very different matchup from what you would probably expect on a map like Oregon. Especially since we have both the Flores and Thatcher on the board, this could actually be a very attacker favored setup here, to be honest.
Yeah, Thatcher being let go on this map is going to be, well, it's going to be quite a ruckus. And as well as your Habana and your Ace, like this is tough. I really do think that this is going to be really big spearhead from this attack is the fact that they have this Thatcher. And I haven't casted a Thatcher in a while, fella. I don't know about you, but with it basically being banned every single game, this is going to be quite the affair. And I think that this is going to change this map into more of a map of gunfights than it is a map of utility because a lot of these hatches, a lot of these walls are going to be free for the taking. A lot of times where you usually have to take map control in order to open up a wall, you might not need it anymore with Habana and with Ace. This is going to be quite interesting here. I'd like to see how Charlotte are going to adapt with this because I get the Maverick ban, but the Lion one coming out from GCU, very unexpected.
Also, that castle barricade too. I think that's like to maybe cut off the angle, like all the way through blue door into pillar. But that's kind of counterintuitive because once you get e-box control and you already cleared out like Harry Potter and like barrel door, that's basically free access into e-box. Maybe it's to force a funnel perhaps. For anyone dropping out of that hatch, I don't know. Maybe I'm hyperanalyzing just one little thing about the map because there's a lot to talk about here for Charlotte's defense. They still have somebody roaming on the top floor, which I love. That does buy a lot of time and it does stall quite a lot. And because Castle is on the board, you can put a couple of those panels up on the top floor or middle floor, I should say, mostly into split doorway and another part of meeting as well, to just again prolong that inevitable map control that GCU will most likely gain at some point, unless they lose a couple bodies if TB wants to get aggressive, which he has done a couple of times, but for the most part, his playstyle has been rather reserved and has played more of I'm here for my utility and then I fall back and play for some sort of anchor game.
Yeah, and it's a playstyle that worked a lot on that late Chalet defense that we saw coming out from Charlotte. And I do think that he is going to be a huge, huge spearhead for how this round is going to go. He's a huge point of contention here. Contestant. Yeah, that's right. Contestant. Maybe. I don't know. A huge point contesting from here, from GCU, because like you said, not only is he going to waste a lot of time, but if he does play reserved and if he does play passive, then Charlotte can collapse. They can waste a lot of time. They can help collapse on this attack. And looking at the way that Charlotte have positioned their site, the way that they castled off E-Box, the way that they open up the E-Box wall in its entirety, they are relying a lot on this upstairs presence and contesting this tower stairs take from GCU. Well, as a minute's gone by, we'll see how GCU can handle this one.
TB losing a bit of health, I believe from somebody down in through kitchen, but now he can try to fall back. There's a hatch available to him to fall back from, but there is some sort of vertical being established. Klims finds one on the top floor, and now the fallback is confirmed by TB. Only on a fraction of health, though. Things are not looking great for the castle, and as Kyle Pog has to make his own rotation heading into Z hallway, they're now aware somebody could be on the roam game in this last minute, but nope. Looks like Kyle Pog will fall back into freezer, so now it's going to be a full 4-on-4 leading into this basement floor battle.
See, Klims as well is stuck inside of E-Box. He has no route to leave. He's going to have to take a gunfight. And the fact that GCU are even putting themselves into a position like this where they are just either ride or die, and it's just Klims going for his life. It's quite rough, but he's inside of sight now, and it's a swing from a 12, but it doesn't work out as Yeti claims that kill. It's just a 3 versus 3. Dios is going to start going for the plant. No C4's alive, and a beautiful kill there from Klims, looking for his third, and he gets it. Walking down maybe the fourth with a pistol swing, but it's not enough. Now a 1 versus 2. TB's on very low HP though, and Smurfs is going to set him down. It's GCU on for the first round, and quite a convincing attack. They really ramped up their speed there. They understood what they had control of and just played that really well.
Yeah, just a default round, especially for when you want to deal with those extensions. You take care of the top floor first and foremost. Out of all the people to entry, though, on the top floor, I was really shocked we saw Klims doing that on the Thatcher, someone who is very important for a lot of these rounds. Even when there's nothing for, like, hard wall denial, still being able to EMP, like, Surya gates and also ADSs is nice to help deal with your execute. That's less util you have to use in your own pocket just by throwing out a simple EMP grenade. So that was a bit risky, but it worked out. The guy found 3 kills with the other 2 being in the site with fantastic coverage on the plant. So you've got to at least commend that. And Dios actually being rather silent there, not doing much on the entry roll to Zofia, unlike map number 2. But hey, a much more solid round, and like you mentioned, a structured round overall for GCU to actually get a very, very clean looking round on their offenses of Oregon.
It goes to show that their momentum hasn't died down just yet from that Chalet game, which they were actually close to almost coming back. They just had a few rough rounds in the end. But regardless, Charlotte are going to completely switch up the sites here. They're going to be going all the way upstairs off of a failed defense of the basement, which is not very uncommon. It's obviously, one of the most popular sites in the game is this top floor site, and it just comes down to playstyle. I think that's going to be a very, very important factor of how this entire game goes, especially because of how default Oregon is playstyle is going to be everything. Charlotte, they're kind of known to just get aggressive and overextend and lose bodies very early on, while GCU, they're very good at shutting down flanks, but at the same time, they also can have a little dose of over-aggression where they peek ahead of drones, where they just make solo plays, and whenever they don't work out, the entire defense falls apart. Something that we're going to have to note down here for both of these teams. Their aggression has been well managed as of recent, but again, sometimes a swing or two can be everything, and Smurfs will claim the first frag, but it's immediately traded out off the swing of Rogue. So the aggression, we talked about it just seconds ago, it's not unwarranted this time.
At least here for GCU, they don't have to worry about the kind of util that Dios brought to the table, more or less just the weapon. And we have seen a round where Dios didn't have much impact, and it was still a win for GCU, being that first one here on Oregon. We already have the back wall opened up to a certain degree, and all they have to really deal with here has just got to be that main Surya gate. Klims is going to win a very important fight leading in through Armory Stairs, and that can now help relieve some of that pressure and work most of the offense moving across the ways into Deer. Another kill found by Klims once again, and someone's caught with their pants down by Smurfs just walking up White Stairwell, leaving just Kyle Pog in the middle of lobby. His position now known by Klims, relaying that information. Plant going down as well with no denial because Kyle Pog doesn't have a C4 nor any meaningful vertical to stop a default plant, so he has to walk up the White Stairs. No, Smurfs in the Canadian spot gets caught in a bad position there, leaving just a 2 versus 1, but still a very potent place for GCU to be in, despite the fact they just threw a free body at Kyle Pog, because that is the worst position to play in on White Stairs. It didn't work in Pro League. It's not going to work here in the Collegiate Championship, but still, it's a round win for GCU.
Yeah, the fact that GCU just kind of walked up White and stole that round away was really shocking to me. Unfortunately, Charlotte just spread their forces too thin, and that's an issue that we saw crop up a lot on Clubhouse. A lot of players kind of just not doing anything, just being very separate from the team, holding some sort of odd angle or some sort of odd pressure that doesn't do much in the grand scheme of things, and losing their life. That's what we saw a lot on Clubhouse. just inaction from the defense. A swinger here or there might benefit you one kill, but it's how you respond after that. It's what you choose to do afterwards. Do you rotate all your players back into sight and play the man advantage, or do you try and gamble on on extending that man advantage even further? Unfortunately, Charlotte made the wrong call there, and again, a lot of bodies lost for seemingly no amount of control in terms of their map presence. So GC will capitalize on that quite properly here, as they're going to be going over to a tertiary bomb site this time around, going the full length of just taking every site. Let's see if they can make this one successful.
Little friendly banter after the Canadian spot not working. Love to see that. Also, love to see the constant change by UNCC. They're not just remaining complacent in one site. They are opting to actually try a little bit of everything and seeing what works against GCU. Now, in my guesstimation, maybe dining room would not work as effectively in comparison to the basement floor or whatnot, but it's still a change. They aren't just relying on one faulty plan A. They want to actually try the rest of the options they have before fully confirming on anything. And maybe if the roam clear isn't as affected by GCU, maybe they get caught in a bad spot. Maybe Dios will fall early on and Klims can't do all that much on the Thatcher roll. Maybe we'll have a round win in the books for UNCC, but that's a lot of ifs. And, that has to come down to a lot of things failing here for GCU. And so far, they've looked like a well oiled machine on their attacks.
And this kind of shades of what we've been seeing from GCU's most successful map on Clubhouse, where they were just, like you said, they were just going through the process. They were just a machine. They were just getting their attacks in there, getting their right positions, getting their utility placed, and kind of just rocking and rolling. It was what saw them a lot of success on that attack, but this time around as well on Oregon is certainly helping them out. You can see Rogue is going to take a lot of early damage here, and that just goes to show how much pressure GCU have on the dawn of the third round, as they've got themselves inside of meeting with no pressure whatsoever. Now, as much as they might try and go for a plan here, they still have holes above that they're going to have to worry about, as well as utility. There's only one C4 alive on the side of TB, and Rogue is all the way over inside of Freezer playing his life. So maybe right now might be a good time to go for the plan. But regardless, if GCU chose not to, the pressure is certainly in their hands, and it's going to go even further as Dios claims Rogue.
Now having the smoke off the board, the only real denial to stop this plant from happening is that vertical coverage, but we see the clear being attempted. Link actually gets hyperactive in the middle of kitchen and finds a couple of vital kills, but it's not going to be enough to shut everything down just yet. Yet he found one near security doorway, but gets quickly refragged by Klimt, leaving just TB on the top floor. His position spotted out by a drone, so now they know this guy's trying to play for vertical to stop a plant from happening. They could actually reposition deep into dining room, go for that plant, and then force TB to go and fall all the way back. But no, a 12 doesn't know about that position, leaving just Klimt planting in the middle of kitchen, but doesn't look like TB actually knows where exactly this plant is going down. Now a confirmation here by Klimt forces the 1v1, and most importantly, forces TB to give up this power position on the top floor. It looks like Klimt is expecting a fallback as well next to meeting it all. This is such a good read by Klimt. GCU take another round, as although things got dicey by a couple of hero plays done by both teams, in the end, it was still a well-read play by Klimt to now make it 3-0 for GCU.
Yeah, and GCU have just been finding so many holes in the Charlotte defense. That's the second time that we've seen a player kind of just walk into the site and punch a hole through the Charlotte defense. The first time it was walking up White. The second time it was walking in through Dining Hall and just taking the fight against the Alibi. While Kyle got 2 kills, he was immediately, or I believe it might have been Link. But while the Alibi got 2 kills, he was immediately shut down, and the site was given to GCU, albeit they still had upstairs presence. It didn't really matter in the end. Really well played there by Klimt at the end as well to get that clutch. And like you said, very well read. Now, Charlotte, they've tried every single site. They have tried the basement. They've tried the top floor, and they've even tried a middle floor site. Maybe it's just time to go back to the basics here. And you can see that Charlotte, in terms of their reinforcements, they're not bringing a castle. It might just be a standard setup, a default. And maybe that's just what they need.
Well, potentially, they are going to have that big emphasis on util, but I don't think that's going to be that fashionable for the composition that GCU is opting to bring. They still have Thatcher, which is great for denying I think almost all of these gadgets, technically speaking, you can actually deny a gas grenade from detonating if it is already thrown out, but that rarely ever happens. But the ADSs, the mute jammers, the banshees, and maybe not the Vulcan packs, those might not get denied. But a good majority of this util is going to get denied by a single EMP grenade. And then you throw your frags, which there are several for GCU, and that's it. It's as simple as that for GCU. So I would have much rather have seen maybe more of that extension play again by UNCC to again force that map control to be established one way or another by GCU and to maybe give them the early pick to kind of keep GCU at a safe distance. But no, the opposite's going to happen.
You can see that GCU are just going to start to establish themselves very early on. Now, last time they didn't have much of a hard time clearing out this player here inside of tower. It's Kyle. He's going to have to rotate off and just play very safe. He's going to peek, though. Oh, man. There's a lot of times where a player peeks and just absolutely loses his life with zero consequence done to the attackers. And it was almost the same exact case here for Kyle, but a lot of time is now being burned by this player who has rotated up to T3. They're going to have to drone this. And again, I mean, fellow, it's historically very hard to try and drone T3. You kind of just have to assume that nobody is there. And unfortunately, that's the wrong call. This is really big here. Kyle could be a big factor for how this round ends up going. But regardless, GCU are going to start to try and make progress over by this meeting area. They have the Thatcher, like you mentioned. Hard breach is going to be absolutely no trouble. It's just going to be this late game roam that could really be a decider.
Oh, and because they didn't confirm if he fell back or not, they actually expect Kyle Pog to still be at the top of T3. So I honestly like that call by GCU. So they're not going to immediately run into the Malusi and just change their idea of how they want to approach this one. They want to go for more of a laundry and freezer kind of play rather than working their way through backstairs and E-box hatch, which can allow for more options here for GCU. But still, the long angles that can be contested here by UNCC, especially near highway, could be problematic, especially if not even a single person tries to work their way through that back hallway.
And GCU have decided to completely forfeit that bunker control. They've just decided to go for the top floor, and that's where Kyle can really, really strike here. As the laundry, it seems like it is going to be a laundry freezer take. A lot of utility being burned right now, though. Nades still plenty in the hands of GCU, but Kyle has made his presence inside of main lobby. It's the question of where does he go, but he's been spotted. Oh, that's heartbreaking. His flank has kind of just been shut down there, but he's walking past the player in security. That's a 12, I believe. A 12 is just caught lacking, and it's now a 4 versus 5 in the dying seconds of the round, but GCU will claim 2 kills, and they're going to wrap around here against Kyle. A big kill, 4 versus 2, but all it takes is a kill onto the diffuser, but it's not going to happen. Rogue now on for 1 as he takes down Clips. But he's not going to be able to do anything as he swings with a shotgun. GCU just played that so smooth. It is just so nice to watch this team play. They are a well-oiled machine right now, and they're just like a program. They're just running. They're just winning the round. It's crazy. Really well played there to the attack.
I mean, the constant rotation game by GCU that game, I really had no clue where they wanted to approach from because they just kept moving back and forth that whole round. They went in a freezer, then they rotated again. They wanted to go laundry. They went back in a meeting room. I mean, they were just constantly active throughout that round, and that really did force UNCC to get their head put on a swivel at that point. They were just so lost in the sauce, especially the roamer of Kyle Pog. He was expecting several different outcomes to happen, and I bet one of them was not him dying after only finding 1 kill, because there were so many good spots for him to be in because no one dealt with him directly. It was a big upset for UNCC. And then again, the volatility that we've had occur constantly by GCU allowed them to get that site presence once again, despite the fact they only had 15 seconds to barge into the basement floor, still attempting that plant and once again forcing a 1vx with somebody who was in a bad position and somebody who was on way too low of HP to go for really any proper gunfight to make things in a more winnable situation for him.
And now Charlotte gonna choose to go on this top floor. Fellow, they have played every site and they've just been going on this rotation, just trying to figure out which one works. Fortunately, I've found nothing so far. Last time though, Charlotte got aggressive, they got a kill, and then it all fell apart. It really just has been, to be honest, back to basics, I think, for Charlotte. Hold the site. That's been the main problem here against GCU, is that they just cannot fortify the site enough. We've seen so many times where a player will just walk up white or walk into a certain hallway and get a freebie and then get the site. Can't be having that. Maybe Charlotte needs to not worry about these extensions and not worry about these roams and instead just hold what they can, hold the site and waste time because against a Thatcher, it's just not that easy. There's just not a lot that you can do in that scenario. So you just have to make site as difficult to break through as possible. But again, with Klim's playing the support role, with playing this Thatcher, it is just so difficult to go against.
One of the big problems with having him on the board is just how much he can deny, and a good gun with the L8 as well, which has been doing phenomenal in the hands of Klimps, going 9-3, almost double digits in the first half. Not a bad stat line at all for your kind of support flex player, not even anything like a secondary or primary entry player at all. So with GCU once again making a lot of decent headway. They haven't gotten the opening duel just yet. There's someone playing close, but not close enough. Apparently not, though. Link still wins that engagement. The top fragger gone. No double digits just yet, but Dios is thankfully in a good position to get that trade. So now no one's in that prime position just yet. And I think he's got a good read that we're going to have a flank unfold here by Kyle Pog. Spots ahead of the Rooney, but does not confirm the kill just yet. And Kyle Pog makes a decision to fall back, but here comes a 12th. And also Smurfs just running in at the perfect time, and it completely throws UNCC in another swivel.
Yeah, it's just TB now to hold this site as Kyle's going to walk up white. It's a little bit too late for that, though, as it's a 4 versus 1. The barbed wire is going to be a big indicator that this player is here. He cannot hit his shots, and he's only got 16 bullets to work with. Probably the least effective gun you're going to want in this clutch scenario. Cannot land the headshot there onto Smurfs. And again, GCU just run through the defense. Not a single piece of utility was really ever wasted throughout that entire attack. GCU have just been playing this so efficiently. They've cleared out shields lickety split. And it's all coming down to the fact that they have a Thatcher on the board. That Thatcher is doing so much damage to this Charlotte defense. It is insurmountable. There's not a lot that they can do against this. And whenever they try and go for aggressive swings, well, GCU are prepared for that. You saw how effectively Dios shut down a flank immediately without even killing anybody. That player that was sitting over by split, no moves could be made by him because he was spotted. It's just any time that Charlotte decide to try and make a play, there's always a contingency plan that GCU have, and it just makes it so difficult for Charlotte to maneuver around the map.
Moving back into dining room. In my opinion, this was probably the best site, though, that we had seen by UNCC. It all came down to a 1v1. The top floor pressure was never fully dealt with by GCU, and they did have a lot of problems. So if we can have that manipulated once again by UNCC, there's a chance they find at least one round in this first half, but only one on such a defender-favored map such as Oregon. It definitely does not paint a pretty picture here for UNCC. And although I did say that this would probably be a more attacker-favored Oregon than what we would expect, I didn't mean 5-0 for GCU. I made that point earlier in the day on both Clubhouse and Chalet. And once again, we're going to have history repeat itself, as we're not going to have a back and forth just yet by UNCC and GCU. Nope, it's still a very one-sided ball here for GCU, just charging in with every single attack just being a success.
And as we inch closer and closer to that match point, we also inch closer and closer to possibly seeing Klimps in a suit. So I'm
wait.
I'm a little scared, but
Foaming out the mouth.
What we're seeing here from Charlotte, though, at the same time, I think they've allocated a little bit more players over towards this top floor. Last time around, it was just either, I think it was TB just playing by himself above. Now they've got Kyle upstairs inside of attic to try and help out with this pressure, which I think is what you need. You need some sort of trade potential going on upstairs, but Dios, oh my goodness, he could have quite the play as he just plans on maybe walking into Z and pressuring here. Rogue is basically he's not going to be forced out just yet, but same exact attack here from GCU. Open up the meeting wall and just establish your pressure. But this time around, I think GCU have a plan in terms of trying to contest this top floor, which we didn't see too much of last time. It was kind of just puncture a hole into the site and go. But Kyle, he's been spotted. It's just a 12 looking for the perfect opportunity, and he swings with Klimps, and it's 2 kills going the way of GCU. And again, Charlotte, they've lost control of the top floor in its entirety. There's no answer here for this defense.
Oh, well, this is for the big man. Now GCU are just about ready to clear in through meeting as well. Klimps finds one off screen, and so does Dios, leaving just Rogue. And Klimps finds now 12 kills in this set. The first half doing phenomenal for someone who only had one kill, and that was it on map 2. Completely changed the ideology of how he wanted to work his way on Oregon, and we're already on series point for Grand Canyon University as they've won every single round of their attack. And I feel like they're not going to be that reluctant to give away anything against Charlotte on their second half. I feel like they want to end out this match as quickly as possible because they're probably a little upset that they lost on Chalet.
A little upset. Look at this. It's another 6-0.
They're
GCU
fuming.
GCU wants to put them in a casket and tape them down. Like this is, oh, geez. But yeah, Charlotte, I mean, a lot unanswered here. I do think that the Thatcher is just an absolutely massive tool that has helped GCU every step of the way. I don't want to say it's the full reason, though, because GCU have just been so good whenever it comes to collecting intel. They've understood exactly what's going on the Charlotte defense, and they've taken full advantage. Smurfs has walked up white uncontested 2 times. If I had a penny for every time that would have happened, how many pennies would I have, fellow? I would have 2. It's like I don't understand how GCU have just been able to get themselves inside of the site so early on without burning all that much utility. I get that the Thatcher is going to help you on that front, but they haven't had to contest this utility whatsoever. Shields have not been an issue for them. So, and it's just kind of coming down the same facet here. It's the fact that GCU are just playing this really well coordinated. Their drone work is really in style, and that is not the start that you want here. Klimps, he's got 12 kills to his name, but unfortunately he won't find a 13th as he is the opening frag here with just 10 seconds in.
And the big idea here for UNCC is probably going to have that explosivity as well, like we saw by GCU. They've got the Ying, who I would think would be at big window, not tower. But I'll be proven wrong. And oh no, here comes the run out.
Oh.
Yep, that gets taken care of quite effectively. Maybe GCU want to give away a couple of rounds to UNCC because they put themselves in very high risk, high reward spots, going for a run out, going for a spawn peak, and neither one of those things working out. So UNCC able to get a 5v3 off the bat, and we already have good map control because of this here for UNCC. I'd like to see that rotation leading over perhaps into big window, somebody going white, because you're not going to do all that much inside a big tower, especially when your only hard breach currently is the Habana. So since you already have master control, you should just rotate around near big window and white to have that play truly unfold the way you would probably want it to.
It's also the fact that you just have nothing to deny the wall as well. This will become pretty much free here for Charlotte, as it's another kill going in the way of Charlotte. So 2 versus 5 now. Men and a 12 are now all alone. You have the utility here, but now you don't, as Men goes down. Gas grenades completely forfeited, and a 12 is stuck in between a rock and a hard place. He's got 5 members looking to hunt his head, and Charlotte, round number 1 for them on this attack. They need 5 more, though.
Well, I guess it doesn't really matter if you have a 5v3. I guess you don't really need to have everybody go for the default strat. That's fair. I'll swallow my pride a little bit there, UNCC. You made a good point. They still got enough good map control and having that room to breathe because it was a 5-on-3. They could just have Ying solo hop into blue and or Attic, I should say, sorry, and just go for 1-for-1s. That's fine. And they got around the books. That's all that matters. Now they can slowly build up that momentum, perhaps. But again, this is, oh wow, GCU trying to prove a point as well by going back to kids in dorms, funny enough. I still feel like this is still mildly attacker favored, but not enough to where we're going to see 2 6-0 splits, you know? So at some point, the luck, it's bound to run out here by UNCC and also by GCU. Again, they did kind of give UNCC 2 opening picks, perhaps. So I don't feel like they'll be as aggressive as they would be the round prior, and maybe that would force more stalling to occur by UNCC rather than the opposite.
Yeah, Clemson unfortunately thought he was doing something, so he decided to spawn peek and lose his life. So, I agree. I just think it's the fact that they just gave away 2 lives, basically with no consequence on the side of Charlotte, and their defense was, I would say, a little weak in the front of the fact that they don't have any wall denial. I guess that they're going for the, sort of mindset of, oh, they have a Thatcher anyway, but they don't. They would assume that they had a Thatcher, so it's like there's no point in bringing wall denial, but there is no Thatcher being brought here from Charlotte, and I think that if GCU do pick up on that, they do pick up on the fact that, the Thatcher hasn't been brought, Charlotte don't have any room to adapt. They have 1 round until they lose this game. There is no next time we'll bring Thatcher. if they catch them out on that, that could be a big blunder that could see GCU stealing that much needed advantage in that much needed round. Now, GCU, you can see that they've kind of calmed down their playstyle a little bit. 4 players are inside of the or near the site, but there is Klimps on the hunt here, playing a little bit of a lurking position here, which I think that once GCU spot out that it is a master attack, Klimps might be able to return.
Rogue already inside of the bedroom. Hopped on top of the bed, funny enough, trying to maybe catch somebody off guard with a weird angle, but that's not going to happen as no one swings him out. Attic being opened up as well. Still a very common pincer maneuver here being attempted by Charlton. I think the only big thing to note here is that the fact with there being a Ying on the board, there's no room for a Nomad. So Klimps on this flank could maybe find something, especially if nobody is aware of this Mantis' presence. We did see him all the way in the basement floor, and now with the calls being given that Attic has been opened up, that could maybe allow him to get aggressive and find some sort of kill. But that has not happened, as I think he's rotated elsewhere, perhaps. But with everything still happening at a relatively good pace here for Charlotte, I'm not too concerned by them. And they spot Klimps on the roam, so now they're aware of his intentions. So honestly, as long as we have some sort of kill be found by UNCC, they're in very good waters to actually get another round in the books, perhaps.
And Charlotte have not been very good. Oh, but Rogue can spot him out. Oh, we've seen that a lot on Chalet where Rogue will get aggressive and take his one and usually win it, but this time around, it won't work out that way as he will lose nades and lose his life. Klimps is still alive and he can still be a potent presence, albeit he has lost his C4, and that is the only C4 on the board, although smokes will do you just fine. Nade's going to come on through, but it is going to be burned through Bolo. Just now waiting, 50 seconds left. There's so much going here for GCU as Klimps is once again still alive. A second kill now, and the Candles are starting to come out. But what presence does GCU have against Charlotte? All of it is the answer as 5 kills to 0 to finalize this game. It's a 7-1. Charlotte had something going for them, but it simply wasn't enough. GCU are your winners today, and 3 really quick maps will unfortunately send Charlotte home.
Again, the single elim here in the playoffs. There is no room for error, and UNCC, they're going to learn that the hard way, unfortunately. But a very good showing by both teams. Still having a map win, though. Better than nothing, I suppose. And having Klimps as well get MVP after having a very awkward map for the second one. Man, I got to pick his brain at that. Maybe they just weren't ready for Chalet, perhaps. That might be the big motive there for not having a good second map. But yeah, we've got to get the interview set up, so we're going on a short little break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes to pick at one of the 5 players' brains over on the side of GCU after that banger win. Don't go anywhere.
I do this all the time. Welcome back. We have a 2-1 lead here in the favor of GCU. They won it out, and unfortunately, they send Charlotte home. It was quite the matchup here, fellow. It was a really weird one, but unfortunately, one of these teams had to go, and GCU were not willing to give that up. 7-0 throughout the group stages, now flawless throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, and we actually have Klimps up here to do the interview as well, so we'll get him on the screen. Klimps, it's so good to see you again. It's been a little while. How you feeling after that win, man?
What's up, fella? How's it going, Adam, Jazzman? How's it going, guys?
I
It's
Hi.
going pretty good. Well, I guess we'll have Adam
uh,
start off with the questions here since you were kind of rearing to pick at the brain here, Klimps. So please take it away, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to start a little bit off with a general question, an easy one. I just wanted to ask, coming up against Charlotte, did you have much prep coming into this? Did you feel like you understood a lot of what they were doing? Because I feel like a lot of times you read into their play style pretty well. So I wanted to know what you did before this game to prepare against them.
to be honest, we really didn't prepare at all. I mean, we haven't really played the game together as a team for the last like week and a half. We took a good break. Stuff has been a little crazy for us, so we were like, you know what? Let's just take a break. Let's just chill for each other. Maybe we're getting ready to beat the life out of each other, and we were just like, you know what? We're just gonna chill out. We're gonna come into R6CC, play our game. We seeded well. We got a good matchup. We feel like we're strong against UNC Charlotte. We played them a lot last year. So maybe a little bit of knowledge of just how they play from then, but other than that, really not a lot of prep.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, a break is prep. I would call that prep. So, um, I have to ask the painful question, and I'm very sorry that I have to do this,
Oh
but
no.
we gotta talk about Shelley. I kind of just want to pick your brain
Ugh.
as to what I'm sorry, but we have to. So I actually wanted to specifically talk about the Wamai ban because I know that that kind of really took effect on you guys on your defense. Did you feel like that ended up hurting you a lot more than it did help?
I think it did a little bit. I think our defenses were just all over the place. We got
Mhm.
really, really confident after that map one of Clubhouse. I mean, we 7 0 them. We kind of figured, all right, let's just swing and have some fun, see what we can do. And obviously, that didn't really turn in our favors. Their attacks are really well structured. And honestly, they caught us off guard with how good their chalet was. And I just don't think we were prepared for that to actually come into fruition against us.
All right, well that does it for me here, Mr. Jonathan. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna butcher it. Mr. Jonathan
Good
Fellow.
idea. Good
What questions
idea.
may you have for Mr. Klimps?
Well, Adam brought up the fact of specific bans that you guys brought in through. You guys noticed the lack of a Thatcher ban on Oregon and kind of stuck to him like glue. I mean, I'm assuming it was a good call by you guys, and especially by you because you were the guy rocking Thatcher. So was that like
Yeah.
the main thing? You just wanted to favor a lot of your attacks based off that Thatcher because it was available?
Well, with how pivotal their line was, especially map two, is really killing our roam game. And we're a team that likes to be aggressive and roam a lot. So we're like, you know what? Let's get rid of Lion. I mean, it's stopping us from actually being successful right now. So if we just take out the Lion, I think we're going to be really good. We took out the Lion. Thatcher ended up being left on the board. And I don't know about you, but a lot of teams don't play Thatcher nowadays. And whenever Thatcher's on the board, there's a reason why he's banned so much. Is because he's so strong. And it allowed us to do things like clear trophy out within 20 seconds just with a couple nades. And overall, he's such a strong operator. When he's on the board, you have to play it.
Yeah, fair enough. And moving a little bit away from this matchup, now that you guys have advanced another round further, moving into the quarterfinals, I believe it to be here for the Collegiate Championship, who do you think is like the biggest competition you've got to worry about moving into the quarters? Who's been someone or who's been a team that you've really been eyeing on to make sure you've got to save the best for last, I suppose?
Well, I believe the next matchup that's going to be favorable, I'm expecting Converse to beat. I think they play Ohio State below us in the bracket. So that's going to be a formidable team. They've won a couple stages of CR6, obviously, and they've been a really good team overall. We haven't played them since stage one of CR6, actually, and it was only a BO1, which we went 7-5 with a sub against them. So it's something that we're definitely going to be able to look forward to. I think it's a match that I think we're actually favored in that match. I like our chances in that match, even though a lot might consider us the underdogs. Other than that, I think we can really beat any team right now. I've seen some of the teams that we're expecting to perform right now slouch a little bit. I mean, NCSU just lost to Virginia Tech, so there are definitely holes that are in some of the teams that are kind of up and in the air right now. And I'm excited to play against whoever's next.
Well, thanks, Clips, for doing the interview here. We're going to let you go. But before that, of course, anybody that you want to give a shout out to real quick, you've got the spotlight. So by all means, you can take it again once again to thank anybody that you might be thinking about right now.
For sure, my whole team. I mean, you can't play without the guys. I mean, we had a sub tonight. Cash
Mhm.
was working, unfortunately. But honestly, Alejandro stepped in really well, did a great job. Shout out to you guys for casting the game, Tango for observing. I know you guys all a lot and really well, and I love the production side of things. And other than that, just thanks to anyone who's watching right now, supporting Collegiate, GCU, any of the teams that are out here, and let's go.
All right, well, thank you. Some inspiring words. You go and have a good rest of your day, Clem. So it's good talking to you once again.
Thank you guys. Have a good rest of the time, and congrats on CL, Mr. Fellow.
Thank you.
Aw.
So I would make the same joke I did the other day on CCL, but I feel like that's kind of like overridden at this point. But as Clips mentioned it, yes, it's kind of the end of the matchup. We do, of course, want to thank ourselves up here on casting and Tango Down running both production and observation at the same time. So glad to have him be able to multitask at such a good rate. That's always nice to have. But all that being said, we hope you all have a great rest of your day and to see you all again Tuesday for some more R6 action here at the Collegiate Championship. Have a great night, everybody.